We're optimistic, and I think the tide is turning. I mean, I think this is where the grassroots pressure is really beginning to pay off. Years of organizing. Politicians who want to get elected on each side of the aisle understand that people don't like consolidated media. They don't like one company owning all the media in their town. They don't want company-town media, one newsroom fitting all. And they oppose it, whatever their political views. That's simply unacceptable. And politicians have routinely voted in behalf of the monopolists because they didn't think anyone was paying attention. Now they know millions of Americans are paying attention, and if they want to keep their jobs, they better get in line.
Here's a difference that change can make. We can stop playing defense. We've been playing defense for years and years and years, defeat these proposals that come from various chairmen of the FCC. We can go on the offense now. 3,000 people here in this city are ready to take this issue on the offense, talk to all the candidates, get them signed up on this media down payment and further reform. That's what change means. Commissioner
Copps, I want to ask you about the FCC beginning an investigation into allegations that the Alabama TV station censored the transmission of a recent 60 Minutes expose about the state's imprisoned former governor, Don Siegelman. The station was WHNT in Huntsville. Went black during most of the segment. The station claims it was an equipment failure.
Well, they do claim that, and again, this is one of the things that the FCC is reportedly investigating, and I'm still waiting for the results of that investigation. We've got to be proactive on these things. We have to be proactive on complaints like that, on the Pentagon episode that you talked about before, and on violations of this network neutrality. We've got to jump in when a complaint comes in and resolve it. You can't just bury these things or deep six them.
The media giant Comcast admitting to paying people to fill the seats at the government net neutrality hearing at Harvard University, which was organized by the FCC.
It's not a pretty story, is it?
What's the story?
Well, if indeed that did take place, and I think there's probably some indication that it did, again, I don't know that it's a violation of any law, but it's just a perfect manifestation of the excessive power of a few people to try to control the dialogue and try to control the business of the commission.
So they pay people pack the hearing at Harvard, which means the critics are kept out of the hearing. We went to the next site of the next hearing, which was at Stanford, and then the corporations didn't even show up. Bob McChesney.
Well, you know, what's happened is we've had now almost 24 public hearings, official and unofficial, that Commissioner Copps and Commissioner Adelstein and sometimes the entire commission have attended in the last 4 years. And what they're finding at every single hearing has been that the overwhelming majority of people at these hearings all across the country, whatever the community, really care about media, and they don't like the status quo, and they want more community media, more nonprofit, non-commercial media, more local media ownership. And these companies were freaking out because that's what people are saying in this country. So rather than try to actually win a debate, an argument on the surface and make coherent arguments, it's easier for them to buy off people who need a job and send them in to fill the room so that people actually, citizens who care, don't even get a seat at the table, don't even get a chance to talk, to make a mockery of these hearings.
Commissioner Copps, does the FCC play a role in the debates when a network decides who gets to debate? I mean, in Las Vegas, when Dennis Kucinich was not invited into the Democratic debate, the next day on Democracy Now!, we ran parts of the debate and we inserted him into it. He could respond as well. But these are the public airwaves. Why are these corporations getting to determine who gets to speak and who doesn't?
Well, people can bring complaints. I'm not going to guarantee that those complaints always have good outcomes at the Federal Communications Commission. But we are trying, I'm trying to push for really publication when complaints come in, so people know what the process is and who's complaining and what's the basis for a determination that the commission makes.
Finally, your last point on licensing. I don't know if people fully understand what you're saying because it has become so automatic that they may not even understand how stations have licenses.
It used to be that every 3 years a licensee had to come in, apply for an extension of their license, and demonstrate that they were serving the public interest. And we had about 14 different guidelines. Are you running local news, covering community events, doing reports that are relevant to that community? That's all gone now, and what we have is something called postcard renewal. Every 8 years, they basically send in a postcard, and it's not much more than that, and a slam dunk that they're going to get their license renewed. We haven't taken away a license on public interest grounds since I have been at the commission. So I think if we do that, folks are going to understand real quick that their license is dependent upon this oversight. That's one reason we had the Ed Murrow era of journalism, and we had investigative journalism, because stations understood they needed to do this to keep their license. It doesn't have to be micro-regulatory or burdensome, but it can be real, and that's where we need to go. And you know, this issue is so important. You talked about so many issues at the top of the show on the news: war, and educational challenges, the economy, equal opportunity. And all of those are important, and one of those issues may be, to every listener in your audience, the most important by far to them. None of those issues are going to get resolved until we get hold of this media democracy, because all of those issues are increasingly funneled through the filter big media. And that's why I think our civic dialogue is in the state it's in.
I want to thank you both very much for being with us. Bob McChesney, co-founder of Free Press, why we're here today. We'll be recording all that's happening and bringing folks these speeches that will be taking place next week. Free Speech TV is going to be broadcasting this gavel to gavel. It starts today on Friday, going right through to Sunday. We're in Minneapolis at the conference, at the convention center where the National Conference for Media Reform is taking place. And Commissioner Michael Copps, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We are broadcasting on over 700 stations on